there were allegedly a lot of Jay-Z shots on Iceman.
Jig is up.
What are the shots?
He definitely addressed Hove and gave him a few little elbows, in my opinion, based off putting Kendrick on the Super Bowl. I'll take the $500K, not the dinner. I never could learn shit from none of y'all. That's in regards to the $500K or dinner with Jay-Z where you could learn from him.
That's a shot?
No.
Oh, okay.
But saying I could never learn shit from y'all, it's an elbow.
Buzzbuster welcomes you back. Jay-Z has finally responded, and his message about Drake after the Iceman diss pulled back the curtain in a way no lyric ever managed to do. On May 15th, 2026, Drake released Iceman, an entire project packed with pointed jabs at Hove. This time, though, Jay-Z didn't answer with a record, a social media post, or a vague line meant to stir speculation. He answered with something far more powerful: facts. Precise, measured, billionaire-level facts. Somehow, that landed with more force than anything Drake said on the album. During Iceman, Drake made it clear he'd rather take $500,000 than share a table with Sean Carter. He also suggested the older generation had nothing left to offer, claiming there was nothing he could learn from them. In other words, he publicly dismissed the man many people view as one of the architects of the modern rap playbook, treating Jay-Z like his influence no longer mattered, and even implying Hove benefited from Drake's name.
Possibly the most disrespectful line on Iceman is this.
Yo, baby, mama ain't even post a single damn.
That's not even a rap diss anymore. That's personal humiliation. Because Drake isn't just attacking rappers on this album, he's attacking reputations, relationships, public image. Then he follows it with,
Where she at? Yeah, where she at?
That's the type of line designed to go viral instantly.
That level of disrespect was impossible to miss. What makes this story even bigger is Jay-Z's reaction. There was no sign of panic, no visible frustration, not even a moment of hesitation. Instead, he stayed calm and let his response do all the talking. More importantly, the way he handled it didn't just address the diss itself. It cast a spotlight on Drake's moves over the past 2 years, forcing people to look differently at every legal battle, every public step, and every moment that suddenly seems a lot less random than it once did. Every hidden shot, every quiet message, every clue, it all got laid out. Jay-Z didn't need a long speech. He simply set the evidence in plain view and let everyone connect the dots for themselves.
Make no mistake, what's happening between these two artists goes far beyond a typical rap feud. This feels bigger, heavier, like a battle over influence, legacy, and who truly gets to shape the future of hip-hop. Right now, one of them carries himself like royalty. The other comes off like someone who turned against the very person who helped open the door.
Drake is really dissing Jay-Z now. And after the Nicki Minaj saga, rappers suddenly aren't scared of Hove anymore. On Whisper My Name, Drake says, I'll take $500K, not the dinner. That's a direct shot at the dinner with Jay-Z or $500K debate. Drake's basically saying Jay's wisdom means nothing to him.
Take a seat, because the full story only makes sense when you rewind the clock. To really understand this tension, you have to travel back to 2009. Not 2024, not 2026, but 2009. That's where the roots of this situation begin. It didn't start with Iceman. It began with an endorsement. At that point, Drake was still more potential than proven star. He was the young artist from Toronto, known by many as Jimmy Brooks from Degrassi, trying to convince the rap world he belonged. Plenty of people were undecided. Some saw promise, others weren't ready to take him seriously. Yes, Lil Wade had already shown support, and there was momentum building around his name. Still, much of the industry hadn't fully bought in yet. Then, everything shifted. Jay-Z stepped onto the successful remix. Back in 2009, that wasn't just a feature, it was a statement. It was validation at the highest level. In rap, a Jay-Z endorsement wasn't just helpful, it was a crowning moment. Getting support from Hove felt like being publicly anointed in front of the entire culture. Once Jay put his name behind Drake, the message was clear. This wasn't just another new artist. This was someone worth paying attention to. What made it even bigger was that Jay-Z didn't stop at a simple cosign. He brought Drake onto the Blueprint 3, one of the defining releases in his catalog. Off that, he essentially welcomed this young artist from Toronto into the inner circle and placed him in one of the most respected spaces hip-hop had to offer.
The momentum kept building. When Drake released Thank Me Later in 2010, Jay showed up again, this time on Light Up.
Drake mocked Jay-Z for always rapping about expensive art. Then Hove responded on the We Made It remix with, "Sorry Mr. Drizzy for so much art talk." Back then, Drake stayed quiet, but now, Drake sounds like he's done respecting the old.
The track that opens the album. That appearance alone was major, but it's what Jay said that still stands out. His verse wasn't just a feature, it sounded like a warning. He laid out the playbook before it even unfolded. Jay told Drake exactly how the pressure would arrive. Unnecessary rap conflicts, distractions dressed up as support, people pretending to help while carrying different intentions. He even referenced the Barzini meeting, pointing to the idea of betrayal hiding in plain sight. Looking back now, those lines feel almost unreal. The rivalries, the hidden agendas, the people around him who weren't what they seemed. Jay-Z called it long before the rest of the world caught on. The real question is, what did Drake do with that warning? That cosign from Jay-Z meant everything. Drake accepted it, wore it proudly, and built part of his rise on that moment. Yet for years afterward, he seemed to keep searching for approval from the very person who had already opened the door for him.
Jay-Z plays different than Drake. Drake be girls. Drake the type of get mad at you for saying something about him and DM your wife.
We've always loved Drake for being an emotional. So why are we going to be mad at him?
I didn't know he was emotional.
I didn't know he was that emotional.
Jay ain't doing that. Jay gonna come fight you straight. It worked for a long time and then we caught him. You need a new trick. It's that simple.
That detail matters because it helps explain the emotion behind everything that followed. None of what Drake did on Iceman appeared out of thin air. It seems rooted in something much deeper, the feeling of being left behind. More specifically, the sense that a major guiding figure in the culture stepped away at the exact moment that support felt most important. From that perspective, the hurt looks genuine. Still, this is where the story takes a sharp turn. Jay-Z's response suggested that what Drake interpreted as abandonment may not have been abandonment at all. That changes the frame completely.
Now jump ahead to 2024. If you missed the chaos, here's the short version. Drake and Kendrick Lamar entered a full-blown rap battle that quickly took over the conversation. This wasn't subtle messaging or quiet tension. It turned into a non-stop exchange, with diss records landing one after another over the span of just a few weeks. When everything settled, the outcome felt unmistakable in the eyes of the culture. Kendrick Lamar emerged with the momentum, while Drake faced criticism from nearly every end. Then came Not Like Us. The record didn't just become popular, it turned into a cultural rallying point, an anthem that dominated discussion and surged up the Billboard charts. First, the track didn't just make noise, it took home a Grammy. After that, it moved onto an even bigger platform, Kendrick's 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, easily one of the most high-profile stages in American entertainment. With tens of millions tuning in, Kendrick performed Not Like Us in front of a massive national audience, and the crowd shouted back every line.
Ladies, I want to make a move. I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love the suit. Yeah, that song. Oh, no. It's a cultural divide. I'm going to get it on the floor.
You really about to do it?
40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Think it on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like that.
Earlier, at the Kia Forum pop-out show, another image had already fueled the conversation. LeBron James was right there courtside, dancing and celebrating. For many viewers, that stood out because LeBron had once been seen as close to Drake, yet now he appeared openly aligned with the other side. This is where Jay-Z suddenly became part of the story. Roc Nation oversees the Super Bowl halftime show, and Jay-Z serves as the NFL's live music entertainment strategist through the company. That detail immediately gave online speculation a target. Drake had just referred to Jay-Z as a gatekeeper on Iceman, so once Kendrick landed that halftime slot, people in Drake's circle, along with a huge section of the internet, began suggesting Jay-Z had made the choice on purpose. The claims spread fast. Kendrick was selected to humiliate Drake. Roc Nation was working against the Six, and the whole thing had been carefully arranged behind the scenes. Social media embraced that theory almost instantly, because people are always eager to find a mastermind and a villain, even when the evidence is thin. Still, that wave of suspicion was only the setup. What came after is what truly changed the atmosphere around Drake.
You cannot believe that Kendrick Lamar just mocked Drake at the Super Bowl and humiliated him on national TV. Kendrick performed wearing a chain of a minor, which is a reference to his line in the diss track, Not Like Us, where he says, "Trying to strike a chord and it's probably a minor." In other words, calling Drake a predator. Like last week at the Grammys, where he wore a Canadian tuxedo while collecting his 5 Grammys for this same diss track. During Kendrick's performance, a light message appeared in the crowd and they read, "Game over," which was a message to Drake.
Have Jay-Z, who rarely gives the media anything about rap world tension, made an unusual stop with GQ for a candid interview. The original focus was supposed to be his Reasonable Doubt and the Blueprint anniversary performances at Yankee Stadium. Instead, the discussion drifted into far more explosive territory. What he said about the Drake and Kendrick clash ended up framing so much of what later surrounded Iceman. To really grasp the impact, you have to understand this. Sometimes the sharpest slight is not loud, emotional, or wrapped in a record. Sometimes it comes as calm indifference. Sometimes the hardest hit from a legend is simply acting like you are not worth the full energy. That was the feeling Jay-Z left behind. Hov described the Drake-Kendrick battle as something that had crossed a line. In his words, he enjoys the intensity, the competition, and the music that comes out of that kind of rivalry. At the same time, he pointed out that in the current climate, so much negativity follows these moments that it can make you wish they never happened at all. Still, one remark stood out more than anything else, especially if you were looking at this from Drake's side. Jay-Z said that people who support Kendrick now dislike Drake regardless of what he releases or what he says. That is where the tone changed completely. It was no longer just commentary on a rap feud anymore. It sounded like a verdict on how the public had already chosen sides.
He also claimed the situation had crossed the line, turning into personal shots at someone's reputation and even pulling family into the drama. On the surface, that comes off measured and mature, almost like Jay-Z was standing above the chaos and refusing to take sides.
When people sit there and compare Drake to Kendrick Lamar, I say it's not even close because Kendrick is going to be known as a rapper. Drake is a top musician. It's not the same. They're not even on the same echelon. And you can tell because Kendrick is blown up. Why? Because he's talking about Drake. That in itself proves that Drake is the fucking guy.
Look a little closer though, and the message feels very different. Jay-Z never stepped in to back Drake directly. He didn't say Drake was being treated unfairly. He didn't argue that Kendrick had gone too far. Instead, he made a broad comment that framed Drake as the one taking the personal hits, which was true, but stopped there. Then came the move that really made people talk. Kendrick still got the Super Bowl. Dot was handed the biggest stage in American music at the exact moment Drake was trying to recover from everything swirling around him. That choice spoke louder than any carefully worded statement. Once the conspiracy talk started, and people suggested Jay-Z had some role in shutting Drake out, Hov didn't sound defensive. He sounded amused. He laughed it off. Then he delivered the line that should have ended the speculation right there. "It's like I'm fighting Jay-Z. All due respect to him, Respectfully, he made it clear the idea didn't even add up. The tone said everything. Drake wasn't being discussed like an equal rival in some secret power struggle. He was being framed almost like a small distraction. And that's what made the whole moment feel colder than people expected. The idea that a man who had already made it through Nas, Pusha T, Dame Dash, and every kind of pressure the streets could bring would somehow be plotting against a rapper from Toronto was treated like a joke. People brushed it off. Yet that reaction was the first real spark, and Drake clearly caught the message. Instead of answering with interviews or vague comments, he went straight to the booth and created Iceman. Then came May 15th, 2026, a date that instantly turned into one of the biggest moments in music that year. Drake didn't release a single project. He didn't stop at 2. He arrived with 3 at once: Iceman, Habibti, and Made of Hunger. That kind of move completely took over the conversation. It became the defining music event of 2026. One track in particular, Make Them Cry, exploded fast enough to become Spotify's most streamed song in a single day that year. Once again, Drake shattered his own numbers, and the internet wasted no time pulling apart every lyric, every possible reference, every hidden message. Now let's focus on what he appeared to say about Jay-Z, because this is where the clues start getting very specific. If everyone is going to debate it, we need to look at the same lines and the same context. On the opening track, Janice STFU, Drake seems to deliver the first unmistakable jab aimed at Hov. The lyric is, "You boys got big on my name. That's big enough. We know how you OGs rockin' already, my ninja."
The jig is up.
I'm fucking Jay-Z. Because people made it a personal thing that you chose Kendrick for the Super Bowl. It's like, oh man, he's choosing the side and he's putting, and he's not.
Like I don't have, what do I have to do with that? I chose the guy that was having a monster year. It wasn't in some sort of alliance to a battle.
Yeah.
Well, I care about them two guys battling. Like, what's that got to do with me?
Word.
Have at it. Have fun.
That last part matters. Jig has long been connected to one of Jay-Z's most recognizable nicknames, which gives the line a very different weight once you hear it in context. Jigga J built his identity around a street-born hustle, and Drake's point is blunt. The hustle has been exposed. In Drake's framing, the veterans who became moguls didn't hold power on their own for this long. They stayed elevated by attaching themselves to the momentum of younger stars like him. He's essentially arguing that Jay-Z's place in 2026 still depends on the culture and relevance tied to Drake's generation. Nothing about that feels hidden. It lands as a straight shot at Jay-Z's reputation, influence, and long-established status. By the time track 2, Whisper My Name, arrives, Drake gets even more deliberate. This is the moment where the jab turns highly strategic. He delivers the line, "I'll take $500,000, not the dinner I never could learn." That bar hits because it taps into one of the internet's most famous rap business debates. For years, people have argued over the same question. Would you choose dinner with Jay-Z or take $500,000 in cash? The whole theory behind the dinner is that access to HOV, his advice, his network, and his business mindset could be more valuable than the money itself. Jay-Z even responded to that conversation during a CBS Mornings interview with Gayle King in 2023. His answer was simple: take the cash. According to him, anything he could teach was already available in the albums. Drake took that long-running meme and turned it into a statement. Instead of treating the dinner like priceless access, he recast it as something not worth choosing at all. He's making it plain. He'd choose the money. In the same breath, he suggests there's nothing left for him to gain from Jay-Z or the older generation. That lands hard, especially coming from someone whose first album arrived with a Jay-Z appearance right at the front, a moment that felt like both an introduction and a message. Hearing him now act like there was never anything to take from Hov feels like respect for an entire era being set on fire in public. Naturally, the internet exploded. Drake doubles down with a line about others going to Jay-Z for another opinion, while he accepted the challenge on his own. Out of everything, that may be the sharpest shot in the verse. The implication is clear. Some artists still look to Jay for approval, guidance, or a final verdict. It sounds aimed at J. Cole, Kendrick, and really anyone in rap who treats Jay-Z like the ultimate authority.
What Drake is doing there is separating himself from that system. He's presenting himself as someone who never needed a blessing, never needed outside confirmation, and never had to check in with the throne before making moves. Financially, personally, and professionally, he's saying he held his position without leaning on anyone else's name.
The energy is cold and almost threatening. Listen to these bars.
We know how you OGs rockin' already, my nigga. The jig is up.
The jig is up might not just be an expression, it could be Drake aiming directly at Jay-Z, Jigga himself, calling out years of industry politics, Rock Nation connections, and people he believes quietly moved against him behind the scenes.
Still, that's only one side of it. The part many people are missing is how much 2024 seems to have affected him. On Make Them Cry, Drake also reveals how deeply that year changed him. When he says what died back in 2024 was a big. This track feels like Drake, yet not entirely. On the record, he sounds like someone mourning in public, using music to process a loss that clearly cut deeper than rap. In his eyes, the battle with Kendrick didn't just damage his image, it took a real emotional toll. At the center of that frustration is Sean Carter. Drake appears to place part of the blame on Jay-Z, especially for backing Kendrick's Super Bowl moment, while Drake was still trying to recover from everything surrounding the fallout. Because of that, the shots on Iceman don't come across as routine rap competition. They sound personal, hurt, almost like betrayal set to a beat. What happened next is where the story gets even more interesting, and a lot of people missed it entirely. Most were focused on whether Drake's lines were effective, while something much bigger was unfolding in the background. Jay-Z never fired back with a song. There was no social media exchange, no public statement, no dramatic response in front of cameras. Instead, he chose a far quieter approach, and arguably a far more powerful one. He let his past comments and his decisions speak for themselves. That silence may have said more than any diss record ever could.
Without raising his voice, Jay-Z shifted the conversation and left Drake looking exposed in a way a freestyle never could. Everything circles back to the Super Bowl because that is the foundation of Drake's entire complaint. His claim is that Jay-Z worked against him by helping Kendrick secure the halftime stage.
Kendrick Lamar calls Drake out on suing Not Like Us during his Super Bowl performance.
I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love to sue.
And then performed it.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back. Must have won a
It's been a long fight, and I just had to
I'm on them tough.
The real question is simple. What did Jay-Z actually say about how that decision was made? So, how was that call actually made? Jay-Z made it simple. He picked the artist who was having an incredible year, and in his view, that was the correct move. As for the clash between Drake and Kendrick, he basically treated it like something that had nothing to do with him. If they wanted to compete, that was on them. That response reveals a lot more than the decision itself. It pulls back the curtain on how Jay-Z seems to view the entire situation. From his perspective, the Drake-Kendrick conflict was never really his burden to carry. More importantly, it suggests Drake believed there was a kind of loyalty from Hove that may never have existed in the way he expected. Here's where it gets especially revealing. For roughly 15 years, Drake appeared to look at Jay-Z as more than just a powerful figure in music. He seemed to see him as a mentor, a respected elder, even a cultural heavyweight who would stand behind him when things got complicated. Meanwhile, Jay-Z appears to have been moving with a completely different mindset. Rather than acting like Drake's personal shield, he seems to have approached everything as a high-level business strategist focused on the larger hip-hop landscape. In that framework, Kendrick Lamar was simply the stronger choice in 2025. That's why Roc Nation went with Kendrick. Viewed that way, the move was not driven by emotion. It was a business decision. The real twist is that Drake may have built his understanding of that relationship on something far more transactional than he ever realized.
What makes this feel so striking is how personal it sounds. Even with all the power behind the Iceman image, it really comes off like a very public outburst aimed at someone who never signed up to play mentor in the first place. That line changes everything. In that moment, what Jay-Z seems to be signaling is simple. This situation does not rise to his level of concern. The suggestion that he would somehow build a massive, multi-million-dollar scheme against another rapper, despite being a billionaire with a 3-decade legacy across several industries, feels so minor to him that his only response is amusement. That reaction may have done more damage to Drake's Iceman framing than any direct response ever could. A laugh can dismiss a whole storyline faster than an argument. Still, the bigger twist is that this doesn't appear to be just a 2026 issue. People have been speculating about underlying friction between Jay-Z and Drake for years, and Iceman seems to have dragged that long-rumored tension into the spotlight. Look back at the Light Up verse from 2010. Jay-Z appeared to offer Drake a warning long before any of this became public. He was essentially saying, stay alert, especially around those who approach you like they're helping. Be careful with people who disguise their motives as support. Even the Barzini meeting mentioned carries weight. That's a clear Godfather reference. In the film, the Barzini meeting is the moment Don Corleone realizes exactly where the betrayal is coming from. For years, the real twist may have been hiding in plain sight. The person Drake now seems to view as opposing him was someone tied to his rise from the beginning. Back in 2009, Jay-Z helped bring Drake into the spotlight. A year later, he followed that up with a Godfather-themed warning about betrayal. Jump ahead to 2026, and Drake appears to cast Jay-Z in the Barzini role. That kind of full-circle tension is the part many people seem to be missing.
There's another detail that got lost in the conversation. On the early track Successful, Drake said, "I'm just feeling like the throne is for the taking. Watch me take it." At the time, some listeners heard that line as a possible jab at Jay-Z. Reports said Drake's team pushed back and denied it was meant as a diss. Still, hearing Iceman now, especially the references to Jay-Z and 2026, makes that older line land differently. The hunger was always there. Drake wasn't suddenly chasing the crown. He had been aiming for it from the start. Only now he seems willing to say it more directly. An all-hip-hop article published after Iceman framed the contrast well. Their point was that Drake and Jay-Z built greatness through entirely different playbooks. Jay-Z's reputation grew from street mythology and later expanded through boardroom power.
I mean, what's damaging for Jay-Z is that despite his extraordinary statement, this has gone around the world. It's been leading bulletins, but you know, it's gone around the world, hasn't it? And mud sticks. I mean, there's no question. I mean, he's been emphatic in his denials, both when he denied what was said about him on this show, and also now, obviously, what's come out of this lawsuit. But there's a lot of negative stuff around Jay-Z right now, which is clearly damaging to him.
Drake's empire came from streaming dominance, pop reach, and a level of cultural connection that made him seal everywhere at once. Same destination, completely different path. For a long time, both eras managed to share the spotlight. Beneath that surface, though, a quiet rivalry has always existed between the established icons and the artists who came after them. Now the big question is whether that long-running friction has finally reached a breaking point. Iceman, are we watching that divide fully come into the open? What makes Jay-Z such a commanding figure in this moment is how effortless his position looks. There's no sign of urgency. Instead of chasing relevance, he's stepping into Yankee Stadium for shows tied to the anniversaries of Reasonable Doubt and The Blueprint. That isn't the move of someone trying to defend a legacy. That's the move of a name already cemented in history.
Drake, meanwhile, is taking a very different route. He's releasing sprawling projects with pointed records tucked inside them, making the case that he still deserves a seat among the elite. Side by side, the difference is impossible to miss. One presence feels settled and untouchable. The other feels like it's still arguing for acknowledgement. A lot of listeners can sense that contrast immediately. Here's where it gets especially interesting. The Iceman lines about Jay-Z may sound sharp and confident, but they could be exposing something about Drake that undercuts the message he wants to send. His larger theme is independence. He's presenting himself as someone beyond outside approval, beyond endorsements, beyond the blessing of the old guard. He's framing himself as the one ready to claim the throne. Yet dedicating multiple songs across a massive release to Jay-Z suggests the opposite. If validation truly doesn't matter, why keep returning to the same figure? This looks like a very different situation. Nobody spends that much time circling bars and building responses around someone who means nothing to them. Genuine independence doesn't sound like a full project aimed at people who doubted you. Usually, true confidence says less. Real influence tends to stay calm, controlled, and quiet. Take Jay-Z as the example. He built Rock Nation into a major force while rarely giving much energy to rap critics who questioned him. HuffPost summed the whole thing up clearly. It's still uncertain whether any real tension existed between Drake and Jay-Z, or whether the issue mostly lived on Drake's side. That's the detail that matters most. Why? Because Jay-Z's GQ interview, the one many people point to as the spark, wasn't really centered on Drake at all. It was just a short remark inside a much bigger conversation. At the time, Jay-Z wasn't fixated on Drake. He was focused on promoting his anniversary shows and handling business.
Drake, on the other hand, appears to have taken that interview as something deeply personal. He seems to have read hostility into Jay-Z's words that may not have been there in the first place. That gap in perception says everything. One artist treated the moment like a serious shot. The other may not have even seen it as a battle. That's where the real reveal happens. Drake created an album around a conflict that Jay-Z may never have viewed as a conflict at all. Jay-Z never signed up for some petty back and forth just to entertain people. Still, Drake essentially said the goal was to push someone until they broke emotionally. He even confessed, "What did it do to me? That's what it did to me." On the surface, he was speaking about the Kendrick Lamar clash. At the same time, whether he realized it or not, he may have been answering the bigger question about Jay-Z too. Something clearly shifted in Drake after that Kendrick battle. His self-belief looked shaken. Once that foundation started to crack, the blame seemed to move elsewhere. That's where the idea that Jay-Z somehow engineered his decline starts to feel less like a reality and more like a version of events Drake needed to hold on to. After all, the other explanation is much harder to accept. Kendrick may have simply outplayed him, and much of hip-hop seemed to support that outcome. Here's why that matters.
What's happening here, if this can even be called a real feud when the energy appears so one-sided, goes far beyond two massively successful artists sending subtle shots. The real issue is bigger than either of them. It touches the structure of hip-hop itself and the question of who has the authority to define greatness. Jay-Z stands for a blueprint built over 3 decades. Steady excellence, authenticity, elite lyricism, sharp business instincts, and large-scale legacy building. His wealth wasn't created by chasing quick digital wins. It came from becoming impossible to dismiss in every category the culture has always valued. When he declined a feature, it wasn't random. It meant something. Jay-Z has always operated on a different clock. Petty rap conflicts never seemed worth his attention, especially once his wealth and influence placed him far beyond that noise. When Drake mentioned him across multiple songs on Iceman, Jay's answer was striking in its silence. No direct reply, no public back and forth. Instead, he allowed his status to do the talking. Yankee Stadium said enough. 3 decades of history said enough. His entire body of work said enough. Drake, on the other hand, reflects a completely different kind of dominance. He is the defining superstar of the streaming age, the most played artist in Spotify history, and someone who shattered nearly every major benchmark the business had to offer. Those achievements are undeniable, and no one can erase what Aubrey accomplished statistically. Still, massive numbers and lasting cultural weight are not always the same thing. Iceman feels like Drake processing that divide as it happens in front of him. The conversation around the culture has shifted, and people are beginning to separate chart success from deeper legacy. Kendrick's Not Like Us, winning a Grammy and landing on the Super Bowl stage, did more than mark a victory in a rap battle. It signaled something bigger. It suggested that the culture may have chosen someone else as the defining voice of this era. In Drake's mind, the person connected to that moment of crowning appears to be Jay-Z. That is where this story gets especially revealing, and it is the key point you should hold on to from all of this. Jay-Z's
"Look at what happened." The interview remarks, the firing, that quick laugh, even the Yankee Stadium moment. Taken together, it was a statement louder than any diss track. It reinforced what people have believed for years. Icons don't chase validation. They already own the space. When pressure comes their way, they don't panic or flail around trying to prove something. Instead, they let the history speak for itself. 3 decades at the top, a billion-dollar empire, 30 years of influence that never needed permission. That was Jay-Z's answer to Iceman. No song, no social media post, just a resume too large to ignore. Meanwhile, Drake is standing in one of the biggest commercial peaks of his entire run. A triple album release, streaming milestone shattered, Make Them Cry in the mix, the single biggest streaming day of 2026. Yet somehow, the spotlight keeps shifting away from the success and back toward his state of mind. People are still asking whether he's truly fine, whether 2024 left a mark, whether Iceman feels like a celebration or something more complicated. That contradiction is what makes this so compelling. The stats say one thing, while the public conversation says another. Right there, in that gap, the real story begins. By stepping in the way he did, Jay-Z showed exactly why the dinner with Hove conversation never dies. He didn't need to shout to make the point. He didn't need theatrics to show control. Sometimes the strongest presence in the room is the one that barely has to move at all. The people who really know the game understand one thing. Results speak louder than noise. Drake said the mask had slipped, and maybe he was right, just not in the way he expected. Right now, this story is still developing fast. Iceman came out only 4 days ago, and online discussion is just getting started. Listeners are already pulling apart every line, every hidden jab, and every possible reference. At the same time, Jay-Z still has not delivered a direct public answer to the shots aimed at him on Iceman. That quiet matters. It does not feel accidental. Sean Carter has never built his reputation on emotional reactions or rushed decisions. From the beginning, his moves have been measured, patient, and deliberate. Which brings us to the real issue. Is Jay-Z preparing something behind the scenes? Will he respond to Iceman head on? Or will he keep doing what he is doing now, letting Drake throw punches into empty space while he steps onto bigger stages like Yankee Stadium? That is where this gets interesting. Maybe Drake wanted a clash.
maybe Jay-Z sees no reason to give him one. Silence can be a message too, and in moments like this, it can make the other side look even more isolated. Now, I want to know what you think. Are Drake's Iceman disses landing for you? Or does Jay-Z's frozen silence make the whole thing feel one-sided? If Jay-Z does answer, what would that even look like? A verse, an interview, or something nobody sees coming? Is he staying silent while the accountant speaks for him? Hit subscribe if you want to catch the very next update the moment it lands. This story is still unfolding, and the biggest turns may be ahead. Stay tuned, because I'll be right here bringing you the clearest facts, the sharpest breakdowns, and every new development as it happens.